So, hello everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Miss Patrick. I'm one of the school counselors at the Preuss School, UC San Diego. And my other colleagues are Ruthie Hernandez and Brittany Oka, and we will be your presenters for today's session. But we're gonna kick off our whole meeting today by a few words from our new principal, Dr. Stites.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy that all of you are in attendance today. I know this is not the college kickoff that we had thought we would have as we were going through our journey at Preuss. I would just remind all of us that this is our opportunity. This is how we're going to kick off college. This is what we have been dealt. This is how we're handling it, and we're making this the best opportunity for you that is possible. And we're going to have a great kickoff to this college application season. And just know that you're not the only one facing a different college acceptance time. It's across the nation. So you're on even playing field with everyone. Well, actually, you're on a better playing field because you're from Preuss, and you are a Preuss scholar, and that puts you in the driver's seat for this college season. And with the guidance from your advisors and from your counseling staff, I really feel you're going to have a very successful journey as you start to venture into your next phase of your education. So I want to thank all the parents for the support you've given your students, and students, I just want to thank all of you for all the hard work, and you're almost there. So here we go. And I want to thank the counselors for their dedication to your success, and our staff at Preuss for the amazing work over the years, and advisory teachers for holding the line and keeping keeping our students accountable, and keeping staff accountable for reaching out and helping us through and along the way. We're almost to the finish line, so now we need to get our second win and finish really strong. Extremely proud of you all, and I'm looking forward to a great term here. Thank you.
All right, so as I had said before, there are 3 school counselors at the Preuss School, UC San Diego. We each have different grade levels that we work with. So I've been working the last few years with this group that are now the senior class of 2021. And what we are doing this year in order to make things a little bit more easy for students to access us for college support and any school counseling help is we have divided up the students in the senior class by alpha, so that each one of us has a smaller group that we can really focus on and reach out to. So Miss Oka will be focusing on working with students whose last name begin with A through GH. I will be focusing on working with students whose last names begin with GO through PEN, and Miss Hernandez will be focusing on working with students whose last name begin with PER through Z. On this slide, you'll also notice our email contacts that you can reach us directly, but we also have cell phones where you can call or message us, and those numbers are listed on this slide. For all of the seniors that are here who have not yet joined our class of 2021 Google Classroom, please click that code that is there. It is TZ52MDR. I'm sorry, don't click. Copy that code and enter the Zoom or enter the Google Classroom for the class of 2021. That way you'll be able to get all of the helpful information and resources that we will be posting on there. So thank you. The advisory teachers for this senior year are Miss Greco. So if any of the parents, if you would like to contact your teachers, the advisory teacher for any information, Miss Greco's email is right there. Mr. Mecca's email is right there, Dr. Weber's email, as well as Miss Zamora. So they will be providing a lot of support. You pretty much know them because you've been working with them over the years, but that's contact information for you family members.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. So I just wanted to go over some resources with you. So in the chat, you can see that there's a PDF. I also just put in the chat the 12th grade resource link. So usually in person, we would have all of these documents printed for you and ready to go, but unfortunately everything will be digital. So we just wanted to remind you that we created this Google folder with all of the documents that you see listed here, a copy of the presentation, the grade reporting calendar, which lists when all of the progress reports will be due and when the report cards will actually be mailed out to our families. We also have the senior calendar checklist with important dates to keep in mind that we've already shared with our seniors. We also have a financial aid checklist that will be helpful in the upcoming months. And then we have a release of information, which we will go over in the next slide together. You don't need to review all of these documents right now, but this is just for your reference, and we'll use them throughout the presentation. We're actually going to go over quite a bit of them today. Other information that you will be sent via email for the students would be a library notice, just in case you have anything overdue or that needs to be returned. And then the counselors will be emailing the students individually with their transcripts. We'll probably be sending them their transcripts at the end of this month, so it's the most up to date. So this next slide shows the release of information. So in order for the Preuss School to release any academic information to our colleges and universities that the students will be applying to, we need the permission of the student and the parent. So if you're not with your student right now, or if the student is just here with themselves and not with the parent, please make sure that you have the time to do this form together. Completing this form actually authorizes our school to release some different sorts of educational information. So this is transcripts, letters of recommendation, GPA, mid-year reports, and financial aid forms. So again, please try to do this form together. I will put it in the chat just so you will be able to see what it looks like. So the last link on there is that release of information. So you can take a moment to do that at the very end of our presentation, and please let us know if you have questions about that.
Okay, so a little bit of information about our graduating class of 2020 from last year. So 93% of our graduating class from last year was accepted to a 4-year college or university. And I wanted to point out that we had an impressive 54 out of 105 seniors from the class of 2020 admitted to UC San Diego. 83% of those students plan to enroll at a 4-year college or university, 49% of those at a UC, 26% at a CSU, and 8% at a private or out-of-state college. 17% of those students also will be starting to attend a 2-year community college with the plans of heading over and transferring to a 4-year university.
So before we get started for the presentation, we just want to do a quick poll and see how much information you kind of already know about our different types of universities. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that first poll. So how many undergraduate UC campuses do we have across the state of California? How many is it? Y'all are very quick, very, very quick. Give you a few more seconds. I will show you the answers right now too as well. All right, so I'm going to end the poll. So it looks like most of us said 9. So that is correct. So good job. You all did a great job. So there are 9 undergraduate campuses. I'm going to do a second poll now. So how many CSU campuses do we have across the state of California? So CSU now. All right, I'll give you a few more seconds. All right, so it looks like a lot of you said 23 and then the runner-up would be 17. So yes, it's actually 23. So you all are very good and already know the information. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into our next part of the presentation. So the main question is, where will the students be applying? So we're gonna do a quick overview of that, and your students have probably already started to talk about the types of universities that they wanna go to and where they're gonna start submitting their applications. So your student will be applying to a variety of different universities this year. The University of California, or the UC system, is one type of college that they will be applying to. There are 9 undergraduate campuses, just like you all had said, such as UCSD, UCLA, UC Berkeley, and UC Merced are just a few of some of the campuses that our recent Preuss graduates have gone to. As a quick reference, the admission requirements for the UC are that students need a minimum of a 3.0 A through G GPA. They must receive at least a C- or better in all of these courses. They must show that they're participating in co-curricular activities like clubs, sports, community service. And lastly, they will also need to respond to personal insight questions so that the admission officers can get a really good evaluation just of their personal lives. And it'll give the student the opportunity to really talk about leadership opportunities that they've had during high school, community involvement, and other personal experiences that have really shaped their lives. Something that has changed this year is that the SAT and ACT requirements are different. So these standardized tests are no longer required for admission at the UC. Although the SAT and ACT is not required, they may still be considered for some programs and majors, depending on the UC campus themselves. We'll go over that a little bit more in depth later in this presentation. So the California State University, or the CSU system, is another type of college that your student will be applying to. As you all know already, there are 23 campuses such as San Diego State, CSU San Marcos, Chico State, Sacramento State, CSU Channel Islands are just a variety of CSU campuses that some of our Preuss graduates have also gone to. The admission requirements for a CSU are that the students need a minimum of a 2.5 A through G GPA. This is a little bit higher than last year, where it was just a 2.0 for the class of 2020. They must also receive a C- grade or better in the A through G courses. The CSUs do not require that students enter any co-curricular activities or respond to any personal essay questions. So it's really just dependent on their A through G GPA and their courses that they've taken. Similar to the UCs, the CSU system has also suspended the ACT and the SAT scores from being a part of the admission requirements. What is different is that the CSUs, even if your student has already taken these exams and wants to submit their scores, the CSU campuses will not use them in any admissions evaluation process for those who get admitted. So we will also talk to your students about private or out-of-state institutions. So there are 100 independent colleges around the nation, and it would be too long of a list for me to name them all. But your students will be using what's called the Common Application for these types of universities. Students will also be using Naviance, which I'm sure that you've heard them say how great of a program it is, but they will be using that throughout their senior year to complete the Common Application portion of their applications. Some examples of California private universities would be Stanford, USC, USD, and Point Loma Nazarene University. Other colleges that your students might be applying to are Georgetown, Princeton, or even Yale. So we also wanted to talk about a different pathway that your student may be going towards. So your student will also have an opportunity to apply to the California community colleges. So there's a transfer process where a student would be able to first attend a community college for about 2 years, and then they would be able to transfer to a 4-year university like UCSD. There are over 100 different campuses in California. There's no GPA requirement. They're not going to check if a student has completed their A through G requirements. All that a student really needs is a high school diploma or a GED equivalent. Some of our community colleges in this area would be Grossmont, Mesa College, Miramar College, San Diego City College, and Southwestern. And I will turn it over to you, Ms. Hernandez.
Oh, hello, everyone. Good morning. So let's go over some of the things that last year's seniors taught us. So lesson number 1, college admission is extremely competitive, even now during these uncertain times. So keep that in mind, although some universities are going test blind or test optional, you still want to keep in mind that the process is still competitive. The other thing is we want you to apply widely, so keep your options open and consider your own profile and personal experiences when you're choosing colleges. For example, your GPA, what clubs have you been a part of, what type of leadership positions have you taken, things like that. And what do we mean by apply widely? Or some people might say cast your net widely. So you want to apply to both competitive and less competitive colleges. Make sure you're applying to public and private schools. Apply to some schools here in California and then also out of state. And then we at Preuss strongly recommend that you apply to 12 colleges. So at least 4 UC campuses, at least 4 CSU, and at least 4 out of state or private colleges. And I'm sure you have all heard this maybe since 6th grade, but what is the requirement of Preuss? We want to make sure that everyone at Preuss is applying to UCSD. So all of you will be applying to UCSD. And so on your college list, you want to make sure that you have some safe schools, match schools, and also reach schools. So what does that mean? So your safe bet colleges, you want to make sure you have at least 5 of them. That means that your academic profile exceeds the college expectations. So as you're doing research on the colleges and you see that a particular college requires certain test scores or a certain GPA, if your academic profile exceeds that, that's going to be a safe school for you. You want to make sure you apply to at least 5 match colleges. So when you're doing that research again, there are schools that are going to match your academic profile. So it's right on target. Your GPA is on target. Anything else that they're requesting, you are right on target. And then 2 to 4 reach colleges. So that the image there you see is reach for the stars. So even though these colleges may be very competitive, highly competitive, we still want you to apply to at least 2 to 4 of those reach colleges. And those would be colleges that perhaps your academic profile does not meet the expectations, but we want you to try. You never know. You could potentially get into those colleges if you really have a strong application.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. So let's go over SAT and ACT. Oh wait, that actually changed this year. So due to the coronavirus pandemic and all of the uncertainty that we're facing now, both the UC and the CSU system have decided that the SAT and ACT will not be required for students applying for fall 2021 freshman admission. So this may also apply to some private universities. So what is lesson number 2 then that we learned from our graduates last year? So you definitely should do your research on testing requirements for certain universities, especially for this year. And we want you to know the facts. So know all of the facts and definitely do your research on a weekly basis because so many things are changing all of the time. In general, what we know right now is that the SAT and ACT have added actually Saturday testing and school day testing, but California is very, very, very impacted. So many of our seniors already know this because they've tried to look up different testing locations, different dates, but some centers remain closed and some are just not available. So as a senior, you may have tried to look for these testing dates, but they were likely full or just not available at all. So the UCs and the CSUs understand this and they're going to remain flexible. And this is why the tests are no longer required for admission. Most, but not all universities are going to be test optional, but some are test blind. So we will go over what this actually means. So you may have heard that these terms are being used when referring to what certain campuses are doing now. So you will notice that some campuses are test optional. What this means is that students will have the option to submit their scores. They literally have the option to. They will not use them for admission requirements, whether or not you will get accepted to the university, but the colleges may still consider the scores for other reasons. The colleges might use the score for specialized programs or majors, for certain class placement for your first year, for understanding statewide eligibility, and to possibly fulfill other grad requirements for college. Most UC campuses are test optional, like UCSD. However, the UC acknowledges that there was just a new ruling from the Superior Court, and the judge's ruling was that the SAT and ACT scores can't be used for admission or for scholarships, so it's still under discussion. Students should check with each UC campus and each individual website to understand how they may or may not be using test scores. The UC has stated that campuses will adjust their internal processes accordingly to ensure that no student is harmed in the admission selection should they decide to submit a test score. So on the other side of that, some colleges may share that they're test blind. So this means that scores will never be considered, whether it's for admission, whether it's for scholarship, or any other type of placement. We know that the CSU campuses have all declared that they will be test blind, even if a campus is impacted. The CSUs will not be using your scores. As mentioned, some UCs are also test blind. This would include Irvine, Berkeley, and Santa Cruz. In no case will standardized test scores be utilized in making any admissions decisions for applicants at these colleges. So these are just some examples. So how do I know if the college that I want to go to is test blind or test optional? So this website, Campus Pass Prep, so this is a good website just to refer to, which has shared which colleges will be test optional or test blind. If it's listed that the college is TO, that means it's test optional. But if it has also a TB next to it, that means it's test blind. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Please check the university websites for the most accurate and updated information. Things are changing very quickly, and the counselors will ensure that we update the students with any new information that becomes available. So does this mean that it's easier to get into college? No, that's not the case at all. Just because the SAT and the ACT is not required, this doesn't mean that the colleges will admit more students or change their overall admission practices. A selective school will likely still remain just as selective, whether or not they require the SAT or the ACT for this admission cycle. Admission officers will still be looking to ensure that you took a challenging load of courses and have excelled in your grades across your entire high school journey. They will see your commitment and effort in pursuing challenging coursework at Preuss, and we want to make sure that you also succeed during your senior year. So make sure that you still focus on your grades for this academic year. You should still take the SAT or the ACT if you're able to, although we and the UC CSUs know that this may not even be a possibility. And then I received some things in the chat right now. I know that there's some questions. Someone has asked me to put in the chat that website for Campus Pass. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat so you can take a look at it. So again, the main lesson is that your A through G grades really, really matter. So make sure that you have satisfied all of your requirements, check in with the counselors, and then make sure that you focus on your grades even during senior year. So before we move on to the next section, we're going to do a quick poll about what you have learned and what you also know. So let me launch that really quick. All right, so this is a two-part poll. So when is the UC application deadline? And then when is the CSU application deadline? All right, I'll give you a few more seconds to do this. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. All right, so UC application, November 30th, that's correct. And CSU application deadline, I thought that was gonna catch most of you, but you already know the information and that it's extended to December 4th this year. So great job.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Patrick, there's another poll. 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
One more poll. Okay, so let me launch this one. So just to make sure that we're paying attention to the test blind and test optional, I know that it can be really confusing, but for SAT, ACT, UCSD is test optional, test blind, or test required? And then what about San Diego State? All right, I'm going to end the poll now. All right, so UCSD, you said test optional. That's correct. Great job. And San Diego State is test blind. That is correct. So you all were paying attention. You all could do this presentation for us. Okay, so now we can move on to lesson number 3, Ms. Patrick.
Okay. So lesson number 3 is about deadlines. For college applications, you do not want to miss the deadlines. So we did discuss that the UC application is due November 30th and that they've extended the CSU application deadline to December 4th. For private universities, you will be doing most of those applications through the Common Application, which is connected to the program Naviance that we use at Preuss, but those deadlines vary. So on Naviance, you'll be able to see all the deadlines and keep a list that you'll be able to look for deadlines in the way that they are due. So if you have one college that's due December 15th and another college application that's due December 30th, you can work on making sure that you get the one that's due December 15th in first. So those deadlines do vary. Then the SIR, which means Statement of Intent to Register, deadline meaning this is the college I select and this is the college that I would like to commit to. The deadline for that is May 1st of 2021.
Ms. Patrick, this is Starlet's dad. Is lunch included too?
I'm sorry. No, there won't be lunch today.
Oh,
So, okay. So the financial aid application, which we are going to be doing a workshop that includes applying for the FAFSA or Federal Application for Student Aid, and also for the DREAM Act. That application will be due March 2nd, but we would like you to get started on that and get that turned in this fall. So we will be talking a little bit more about the financial aid workshop in a little bit. So there's some special notes when you're applying for private universities about deadlines. So there are different types of deadlines. There is early application, early decision, regular decision, and rolling admission. So the first one that's listed there, early action, that means you are applying to a college that you are really interested in, but the plans you would not be committing to the school by applying early action, meaning it is not binding. But you would get an earlier response to that application, but the deadline for that application would be earlier. Early decision, however, means that the plans are binding. So you can only select one school to apply to early decision, one private school. And then if you're accepted early decision, you are saying, I will attend that college. And you will find out about that typically in November. So if you're really positive that there's a college you're really interested in, a private college, and you apply early decision to that school and you get in, you've accepted that you're going to go to that school and you will cancel your other admissions. Regular decision is the deadline for all the other private colleges that I mentioned have varying dates that they're due. You typically will find out about those decisions in March or April. But as I mentioned with early decision, you might find out by December, even though your decision won't be binding and you still have until May 1st. Rolling admission is a little bit different, and that just means that that school takes applications until they have filled up their entire incoming class for that fall. So it just depends on that school and how many people apply. All right, and then over to lesson 4 with Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you. So lesson number 4. So we just want to remind you that senior grades and your GPA, they are still important. I know that sometimes students get to talking and I've heard students say, well, senior year is not that important, but it is. So just keep that in mind. If you earn a D or F during your senior year, your admission may be canceled. So even if you've already applied, even if you get that acceptance, they may come back and say, you received a D or F, your admission is now canceled. And that does not only apply to A through G courses, but also any courses on your transcript. Those of you who are completing APEX courses to recover credits, put this date down in your calendar. It's really, really important that you get them done as a senior by October 23rd. The reason why is that we want to make sure that those courses show up on your transcript when you apply. So it would be a completed course, you would have a grade for it versus an in-progress course on your application. And then if for some reason, which I know this will not happen to any of you, but for some reason you do receive a D or F during this senior year, you will need to contact the colleges immediately. So we would help you draft an email and you would contact them just explaining your circumstances and appeal so that your admission, they have the right to decide, but you can appeal that your admission is not canceled. And then, so on that note, we will not have any D or F grades this year, right? Okay, so you'll see here an example of an admission cancellation from UCSD. So if you do get a D or F in a course after you've already applied, You could potentially get this email from UC San Diego or from any other colleges that you applied to saying, I'm sorry, your admission's canceled. And if you look there on the bottom, the reason is that they received an F in this course. And
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry. Lesson number 5 is back to me. So one of the important things to remember is that a full ride, meaning your entire college tuition and potentially your room and board to college, is not a guarantee. So you should anticipate that loans might be a possibility as part of your financial aid package. We always recommend that you apply for as many scholarships as you can. Some scholarships would work at any college, and some scholarships are directly through the university that you're applying for. So if there's a school you're very interested in, or once you've accepted admission to the university, you should really check closely if there are any scholarships directly through that college that you can apply for that will help with your tuition. But so things to keep in mind are there are a lot of opportunities out there, and you need to take advantage of just applying for as many scholarships as possible. I sometimes like to look at it that it's like committing hours to a job. If you spend a number of hours applying to a bunch of scholarships and then you get one of them, when you do the math, it might work out that you're doing pretty well with how much you're making per hour that you're committing the time to writing those essays. So something important to think about. On to fee waivers for application. A fee waiver would mean that you get the fee waived and you do not have to pay the fee for certain applications. All Preuss seniors qualify for 4 fee waivers for the UC campuses. So when you apply on the UC application, you'll get to select 4 universities from the UC campuses that you would like to apply for. If you and your family talk about it and you would like to potentially apply for a 5th or a 6th UC school, you would need to pay the extra additional fee to apply. And if you had if you had a credit card or your family had that information, you would be able to enter that at the end of your UC application. For the California State University campuses, Preuss, we have said that if you do not qualify for fee waivers, that we will at least guarantee to help you cover 2 fee waivers. So the California University system last year expanded their qualifications to qualify for a fee waiver. When you are completing the CSU application, it will tell you whether or not you qualify for a fee waiver. It was expanded last year, and we were able to notice that more of our Preuss students qualified. When they expanded the fee waiver program, they included the federal free and reduced lunch as a qualifier for the Cal State University fee waivers. However, that does not mean, even though all Preuss students get free and reduced lunch, that does not necessarily mean that your family still qualifies with their financial situation this year for free and reduced lunch. But most of our students do, so we're hopeful that most of you will get the fee waiver for 4 CSU campuses, but if not, we'll help you with at least 2. And if, again, your family wanted, they could help out with additional campuses beyond the 2. When you apply for the private universities through the common application, there's a fee waiver that your school counselor will click for you, and then you will be able to apply to all of the schools through common application for free. So that's great news. So what are the costs to apply to the additional campuses? So the cost to apply to UC schools is $70, as well as the CSU applications. So if you wanted to apply to more than 4 University of California schools or more than the 4 California State University schools, you would need to have $70 available to enter through some sort of PayPal or credit card account. All right. And what information do you and your families need to start collecting for your applications? One of the things they will ask for on your application is, what are your parent or parents' occupations? So if you can have a conversation with your parents and get that information, that would be really helpful. The other thing they're going to ask about is your family's income for the year of 2019. You will get a lot of that information in your taxes. So if your family did file taxes, that information will be there. We'll talk a lot more about how you find some of that other information at the financial aid workshop. But if you have questions, please reach out to any of your school counselors to get extra help with figuring that information out. They will also ask what the highest level of formal education your parent or parents had, so high school or beyond high school. The last thing that we want to make sure you ask about is what month and year you as a student moved to California, to the state of California. So if you lived in a different state in the United States, what year you moved to the state of California. If you were in a different country and you moved to California, what month and year was that approximately? Do your best if you don't know the exact date. So they want to know approximately if you don't know the exact date. So in addition to the FAFSA, the financial aid application, or the DREAM Act application, there is another form called the CSS profile. This is only for private colleges, so the colleges that you would be applying to on the common application. The CSS profile is available online at cssprofile.collegeboard.org. It is a little bit more in depth than the FAFSA application, so your counselor can be a great resource for helping you to fill out that application. You would want to check the individual private colleges you are applying for whether or not they require the CSS profile and what the deadline to fill out the CSS profile would be. The CSS profile is not always free. You might qualify for a fee waiver when you fill it out. Again, it's based on the information you put in there. Otherwise, the CSS profile would cost $25 for the first private college you apply for, and then $16 for each additional college after that first college. So now we're going to introduce our senior class ASB president, Kimberly Santiago, who's going to speak a little bit about some of the senior year activities that ASB is planning.
Hi, so I just wanted to mention some of the activities that normally happen during senior year. So on the screen, you can see air band prom, senior dinner, breakfast, and senior t-shirts. So we are hoping that if we return to school, then we will be able to put on these events. However, if that does not happen, we're also trying to plan around maybe making things like air band remote. Something to keep in mind is that normally the prices of all these events depend on how much money we are able to fundraise. So just make sure you're participating in fundraisers so that all of these events won't be way too expensive.
All right, thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. So we would just like to go over some save the date events and then also review the senior checklist that we gave to our seniors already, just for our families to get a quick overview of that. So a date that we want you to save is Saturday, October 24th. We will be having a Preuss Senior Financial Aid Workshop via Zoom. We will have an English and a Spanish breakout room so that we can get individual support for our families. We will be giving a general financial aid overview with some tips to consider. We'll give you step-by-step instructions on completing the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. And then we're actually going to complete and submit those applications on that day. Please start gathering the information that's necessary for all of the financial aid documents. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat again, just the 12th grade resource folder, so you can actually go in and see what financial aid documents you need to start collecting now. Please check Parent Square on a weekly basis. This is where all your information will be sent for our parents and family members. So we will be sending you more details on the specific time and what the Zoom link will be. But please, again, start gathering all of your financial information now in preparation for this meeting. So something else we wanted to just make you aware of, the UCs are doing something very unique this year. They're going to be doing a UC for You, California First Year Students. So on Saturday, October 3rd, there's going to be a nice overview of the 9 undergraduate campuses, and you'll be able to do different breakout rooms via Zoom and really be able to see some of the campus highlights for each undergraduate campus. You'll actually be able to also speak with and listen to a student panel from different UCs. So definitely check those out for our students and for our families. In terms of if you're still considering which UCs to apply to, this is a really great overview session, and they'll not only go over admission process, but you can talk to them more specifically about majors or different programs that you're interested in getting involved with. So to register for this event, please go to the link that I just put in the chat. So again, that's Saturday, October 3rd. So the UCs have also shared this with their counselors to advertise to our families. So at the undergraduate campuses, they might be having their own info sessions or virtual events for our students that are applying for fall 2021 admission. So please check out the individual campuses as well if you're interested in seeing other virtual events that they have to offer. So something else to be aware of, this isn't Preuss specific, but our California CalSOAP, so the California Student Opportunity and Access Program, puts on a college fair every year. Usually it's in person and there's hundreds and hundreds of different booths. This year they're gonna be doing virtual workshops. So the save the date is Wednesday, October 28th. Usually it's in the evening, so our families and our students can participate in seeing hundreds of different college reps. They don't have specific times or more information right now, but please check out their website when it gets closer to that date. Our seniors have also already seen this, but we made them a monthly checklist of things to just consider. So please check this out with your students, and you can also keep them on track by checking in and seeing what things that they have to accomplish for each month. So just as a quick overview, this semester, your student will be filling out and submitting their college applications and their financial aid applications. They're going to be submitting letters of recommendation requests to teachers and counselors, and they'll also be researching scholarships and participating in virtual college rep visits. So these are just some things to keep in mind for this fall semester.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about virtual college tours and information sessions, but we're going to start out with a quick poll question. Ms. Oka, if you could get that started.
Okay, there it is. So where can students sign up for virtual college information sessions? The Aries, Parent Square, Naviance, or Calendly? Give you all a few more seconds to fill that out. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. All right, so you all said Naviance, so great job. No one put Aries, I'm surprised. So I'm really happy to know that you all have the information, or that your students kind of know where to access that. 94% of you said Naviance, and that's correct.
All right, so if we, normally we have colleges come to our school and speak directly to our students about their colleges. So how do you sign up for that is Naviance, exactly like you all know. We tend to have over 35 college representatives come and visit Preuss, but this year we will have a number of those people will also be doing virtual visits just for Preuss students. Some of those, we've had a number of schools over the years. Some of the ones that right now you can still sign up for are the University of Redlands, UC Merced or UC Santa Barbara, University of San Diego, Boston College and Boston University, Claremont McKenna College, Mills College, Trinity College, Yale University, and we even have an international school, the University of Melbourne in Australia, which is one of the most prestigious schools in Australia. So if you want to come and just learn a little bit more information, sometimes the reps that come to those college rep visits are part of the team that reviews college applications. So in the past, we've had students network with those admissions representatives about their application for that school. So it can be a great idea to still visit those colleges. You may say and think that you've already kind of decided where you'll be applying, but it might be good to make those connections and just learn a little bit more about college campuses this fall. So some additional ways in which you can take tours of campuses, since it's a little bit harder with being remote this fall, there are just a number of spots where you can do a virtual campus tour. If you enter into Google the college campus you're interested in, more than likely that campus will have a virtual tour on their website already where you can sort of see everything as you walk around campus. But the University of California campus virtual tours, there's a link we have right here, as well as for the California State Universities have a spot where you can launch all of their campus tours. And then we have this other wonderful website called uvisit.com, where there are more than 600 different colleges that you can do a campus tour of directly from that website. And we'll make sure to post that information so that you all can access that. Now, ideally, it would be amazing to visit college campuses in person, and perhaps after you get your admissions, if we're back in person in the spring, you may want to still schedule some of those visits if we have any breaks, if there are schools that you know will be open and you can do a tour in January or February, that could be a great time to do that. If you were ever to do a campus visit that was during a school week, we would require approval for that. If there were a college you were interested in that does have a virtual visit during school time, you would need to contact your counselor and we would need to get confirmation from that school as well as a form completed about that visit. So we will give you that information if you contact your counselor.
So let's talk a little bit about parent and family involvement. So parents, this is for you. So what can you do to help? So make sure that you're having honest discussions with your children about college location, housing, finances, in what ways can you help? What are your feelings about them staying in San Diego, giving them opportunities to leave San Diego in case they do want to apply outside of the city? Encourage them to explore all of their options. There are so many opportunities that you can have being able to travel and live outside of San Diego, and so just make sure that they're able to explore all their options. And then provide all required financial documents. So we, Ms. Oka mentioned the college resource folder and also the financial aid workshop. You will have more information about exactly which financial documents we will need for the financial aid workshop and in order to be able to fill out the FAFSA. So just make sure that you start preparing those documents now, so your tax returns from this year. Also, as Ms. Patrick mentioned, if we were in a normal scenario, we would encourage you to go out and go to college campuses to visit with your child. And hopefully in the spring, colleges might be opening that back up, those options back up, where you could go on campus tours, sit in on classes, eat in the dining facility. meet with faculty, interview with admissions. So we will see, and we'll keep you updated to see if any colleges are offering that during the spring. But for right now, we have all of those virtual college tours that Ms. Patrick mentioned earlier. You can sit down with your child and you can click on those links and review all of those virtual college tours together. And some other ways that you can help, just understand that senior year is a stressful year. You know, there's so much going on. As you know, you've lived with your children over these last several years at Preuss. And so you know that the academic rigor is high, and it maintains that way this year. And so they're balancing that stress of, you know, their academics, as well as doing all this college application process. So just be aware of that, and then ask them what you can do to support them. You know, if there's anything you can do to help in that process, or, you know, sometimes just having a listening ear is helpful. And then let your child steer the process. You know, they're working on this with their advisory teachers. Their advisory teachers are, you know, they have been working with your children over the last several years. They have close relationships with them, and they can help advise them on the right schools for them. And so just, you know, help your child go through that process, but let them steer it, and then help them get organized and stay organized. They'll have lots of documents this year and packets, and they're going to be, you know, having to keep track of all of that in order to get through the college application. So just help them stay organized. And then last but not least, offer your love and support. And then something to keep in mind, there are additional college costs besides the standard tuition and books and all of those things. Your college could request tuition deposits, maybe a deposit for housing if your child is going to be living on campus, student health fees. Right now we're recommending, they're optional, but right now we're recommending that students do pay these health fees just because of what is going on with the pandemic. It's good so that students have that health insurance on campus. And also deferment of fees is not guaranteed, so keep that in mind. Orientation fees are possible, and also, as I discussed earlier, you could potentially visit college campuses, and, you know, that's just an additional cost that you want to keep in mind.
Okay, so let's talk about some final senior reminders, some important things. Stress is definitely something that many of us struggle with, adults and students, but especially with managing your senior classes as well as applying to colleges and applying to financial aid, it is so important to try to get organized. Another thing is, don't assume on things, don't assume on deadlines. Things can be altered slightly, so just double check deadlines and admissions requirements for your applications. Make sure that if you have one email that you're using to check college applications, that you'll be checking it regularly. Make sure the application notifications don't get lost in an email that you won't check regularly, because many of the requirements might be time sensitive. So for example, if you get an email from, this is just one example, the California State Universities, if you do not get accepted to the top 4 choices or any of the top choices that you would like out of those 23 campuses, and you have met the minimum requirements, they should send you an email in April that says, because you met the minimum requirements and you're a California resident, you were accepted to one of the California State University campuses. This is the school you were admitted to. You will not get to select that school that they email you about in April, but you will have a very limited time in which to reply. So it's very important that you're checking emails from universities. Don't wait to the last minute to do all of your college applications. Some applications may be due January 31st or even, I'm sorry, January 1st or December 31st. You know, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day can be times perhaps you have family times or things that you're doing. So don't wait until those days. We know that sometimes students will procrastinate. So those are the people that tend to be really dealing with additional stress at that time. So do your best to look at the schools you want to apply for, look at those deadlines and plan so that you're not waiting until the last minute. For the essays that you need to submit to college, as one example, the UC prompts, please have people proofread them, and you can have as many people as you feel comfortable with proofreading them. You can have your English teachers preview them and give you recommendations. You can have your advisory teacher. You could have your school counselor. You may know a recent alumni from Preuss who is attending a UC school who did their prompts last year, who might be willing to read over your essays and give you some suggestions. So have a lot of people proofread your work, but you'll need additional time to do that. So don't wait until the last minute. If you need help with something, don't be afraid to ask for help. We're here, your school counselors are here to help. Your advisory teachers are available. You'll see them a few times a week. So please just reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And honestly, the biggest thing, just believe deep down that you will go to college next fall. It can be a little bit scary when you actually consider the whole thing and what that means, what that looks like, but you can do it. Just believe in your heart and know you can do this and you will be successful. So the Naviance program is what we use for applying to private colleges, but it's also a spot to research and compare colleges. And it's also a place to keep track of all the schools you're applying to. So although you will not be starting and submitting your applications for the University of California colleges or the California State universities there on the Naviance site like you will be with the Common Application where we'll be submitting a lot of those things, you can add in the different CSU and UC applications that you applied to, and that way you can keep track of all the places you applied and look for the emails from those schools when they are giving out their admissions decisions. There is also a scholarship list in Naviance, which we're always updating. So you can kind of be checking that and filter through that to see what scholarships are available to apply for. There's going to be a whole lot of scholarships that show up there in the spring for seniors who are about to graduate. So keep those things in mind. Again, as I mentioned, those college reps are coming, so you can keep a list of all the schools you're interested in. And if you have put on your Naviance list a college you're really interested in, and then that college representative decides to do a visit at our school, it will email you and let you know, hey, this college that you put on your Naviance schools I'm interested in list is coming. You may want to go and check out that visit. So make sure that you're going to that student.naviance.com/Preuss website, logging in. If you're having any trouble logging into your Naviance account, please reach out to your counselor who can help you with that and get you registered. Or if you have a different email listed in Naviance than one you'll check regularly, we can update that for you. So please reach out to your counselor on that.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. So we're almost done. We're wrapping up now, and we'll answer any questions at the very end. Just as a reminder, this meeting has been recorded, and we will upload it on YouTube so that families, if they need a different language, you can actually change the closed captions or the subtitles to a different language of your preference. So we will make that available by the end of next week, and we will send a reminder to the students and a parent square letting the families know that it's now available online. Other than that, I know that this was a very long presentation. We do want to be mindful of your time. We have about 15 minutes left for any questions that you have. The advisory teachers are here, the counselors are here, and Dr. Stites is also still here if you have any questions for us. You can unmute yourselves, you can raise your hands, or you can place them in the chat. Any questions?
Miss Oka, someone asked me about where to get the code for Naviance. All the students have already signed up for Naviance, and so if the student needs to have us reset their password because they have forgotten it, their counselor can email that directly to the student. So if a student can email their Alpha counselor who's listed on the screen right in front of us at those emails that are listed, we can help them get the code for Naviance. There is an option for parents to get some direct information on Naviance. If you have any questions or would like to be included with that information, please email the counselor, parents and family members, and we can try to get you more information about that parent access.
Perfect. Any other questions? And we can all check our chats too, the hosts and co-hosts. If you don't have any other questions, you are free to go. The counselors will stick around until everyone leaves, but thank you so much for participating today, and we hope that you learned something new today. And have a great Saturday. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Nice job, team.